I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. Senator Kirkmeyer's with us.
Yes, a second candidate. We get a third on, we get a free sub. Got a punch card for that.
They all like to come by the Jeff and Bill show
Yes, they do.
because we are the biggest, hottest show in Colorado because we invite everybody to be part of the conversation.
Everyone.
It's a debate. It's not a monologue. It just isn't what Jeff Hunt wants. It's not what Bill Thorpe wants. It is a debate where you are welcome to call in 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Interesting text here from 4126.
Yeah.
I was a registered Democrat my whole life until moving back to Colorado a couple years ago. The party has moved so far to the left with regards to criminal justice, the competency bill in 2024, Second Amendment rights, fees galore. By the way, that should be the Democrat state motto, fees galore, to skirt Tabor while failing to provide consumer protection, allowing Polis to veto regulations on HOAs, ride shares, cameras. The quality of life has declined in Colorado under their rule, with while the costs have exponentially increased. Yet I'm not a MAGA cultist and disagree with the GOP on many social issues, ICE brutality, hypocrisy on small government, except when it suits them. I feel politically homeless these days.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
I've been there for a while. Yeah.
Do you think
2
you could
decades.
ever feel at home, though?
No, not now. I've been in the wilderness way too long, and I have too much pent up rage and dislike for both parties. So, welcome to the club, 4126. However, I took the tack the other direction. I was and have never been a registered Democrat. Deep breath for everybody that, especially in the audience listening on The Answer in Colorado Springs. I was a registered Republican. And more
he was a Trump?
I was a Rush guy. Yes,
Rush guy.
I was. Yeah, a ditto head. I mean, I went to the Dan's Bake Sale in Fort Collins. That's how OG I am on the Rush bandwagon. I'm not new to this game. I'm also not new to being unaffiliated. I left the Republican Party over 20 years ago. So, I appreciate you. Also, want to shout out 4126. I'm sending you a message. Any of you that we don't have a nickname in the system yet, add a nickname to your text. That way we can call you by that name rather than referring to a number. How often do you get to choose your own nickname? Throw that in there and we'll do that for you.
Barb Kirkmeyer is up next. Now is time for the news.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good Thursday morning. 36 and sunny in Denver, 35 in the Springs. Expecting highs in the 60s today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, authorities are investigating a collision between two Navy ships in an area patrolled by the U.S. Southern Command. According to the Southcom spokesperson Stephen McLeod, the ships collided during a replenishment at sea and left 2 personnel with minor injuries.
It's gone really well. We're very excited with everything. We are so far ahead of all the rest of the Republicans. We're not even in the same race.
Republican Scott Bottoms looking to go to the top. He's running for governor in Colorado, and he was on with Jeff and Billy last hour.
I even had a very liberal talk show host say to me the other day that according to Democrat numbers, I'm actually tracking in the same arena as Senator Bennett, and none of the Democrats are near me. So, yeah, we're pretty pumped.
He also says there's no such thing as being too conservative because he's fighting for the people of Colorado, their safety, and the rule of law. And he also says that he's been working with the FBI the last few years and knows there are Colorado lawmakers right now who are pedophiles and hoping that they will be exposed soon. Amen. Former CBI DNA analyst Yvonne Missy Woods has pleaded not guilty to charges tied to the alleged mishandling of evidence in more than 1,000 cases.
Ms. Woods would be entering pleas of not guilty as to all the counts.
Wood's attorney entered the plea Wednesday in Jefferson County with her alongside during the final arraignment hearing that lasted just a few minutes. She faces 102 felony charges, including perjury and forgery. Woods' trial is scheduled this fall as officials continue reviewing thousands of cases she worked on over 30 years.
I wanted to hear her plead guilty. I knew that was not going to happen, but I think the case needs to continue to be in the forefront of people's mind because she affected so many of us.
Tamara Dean Harney, who showed up to the hearing, says she feels personally impacted by Woods after the former analyst's fallout pushed prosecutors into accepting a plea deal last year in her dad, Roger Dean's 1985 murder case. Hey, what happened at that meeting with DJT and Netanyahu on Wednesday? Tony Waterman.
Netanyahu had moved forward a trip to Washington to try and convince President Trump to expand the scope of negotiations with Iran to include not only its nuclear program, but also its ballistic missile program. Israel sees both as a threat to its very existence.
A pair of black gloves has reportedly been found by the FBI near Nancy Guthrie's house in southern Arizona. The gloves reportedly resemble those worn by a potential suspect who was caught on video and are being tested for DNA. We are in day 12 of that mystery. Senators looking for answers about Wednesday's sudden closure of airspace over El Paso, Texas. It's reported the Pentagon decided to test an anti-drone laser weapon without coordinating with the FAA, while the FAA says there was a drone incursion from a Mexican drug cartel. Team USA takes on Latvia today at 1 o'clock in their first game of the Winter Olympics. Nuggets over the Grizzlies last night, 122-116. Nikola Jokic, 26 points, 15 rebounds, 11 assists as he gets ready for the All-Star break along with Jamal Murray and the rest of the Nuggets. 35 in the Springs, 36 in Denver. More of the Jeff and Bill Show ahead on News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver, and now on AM 1460 and FM 101.1 The Answer in Colorado Springs. All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Satellite and radar shows a continual feed of moisture from the west coast coming into Colorado. This is going to be producing a lot of high and mid-level cloudiness. There are going to be more opportunities for occasional snow in Colorado's high country today, tonight, and tomorrow. For the Front Range, since we don't have any connection to Canadian air, temperatures are going to continue to be very mild. Daytime highs in Denver and Colorado Springs will easily be in the 50s today and tomorrow. And as we get into the weekend, 50s, even some lower 60s by Sunday and President's Day Monday, as that flow of Pacific air continues. Do expect a lot of clouds with this pattern through Friday. There might be a few rain or snow showers along the Front Range and plains today, tonight, and tomorrow, but nothing of consequence. We'll have a little bit of a break in the clouds and the weather over the weekend before another system approaches Colorado late Monday and Tuesday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show, where you hear both sides. She's one of the most powerful people in the Colorado State Senate. She sits on the Joint Budget Committee, now running for as a candidate for the Republican nomination for governor in Colorado. She joins us now, Senator Barb Kirkmeyer. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, big days coming up. We're about 2 months away from the assembly. The primary is going to be in June. You're running for the Republican nomination for governor. Give us your strategy. How do you intend to be on the ballot for the primary?
Well, I've been running an excellent race. I think things are going very well. I have a very strong message, have a really good track record, proven results. So that message is resonating with folks. I look at it from both ways. I haven't made up my mind yet whether I will go through the assembly, but I have pulled my petitions, and I've been out talking to folks all over the state, getting signatures on my petitions to ensure that I do get on the ballot.
What are you hearing from those folks? What are the top issues?
The top issues are about on affordability and how unsafe they feel in their neighborhoods, and protecting and working with law enforcement. And then I hear a lot about taxes, and I hear a lot about protecting Tabor and ensuring that Tabor stays in place. But it's really more about the what I call the meat and potatoes issues in the state, where it's just really affordability, safety. And then I'm hearing a lot about roads. And the roads are in bad shape in our state. So I've got a plan to fix those.
That's Senator Barb Kirkmeyer. She's running for governor in Colorado. Now, my analysis, and I could be wrong because there's 40 plus people running for governor, but I think it's a three-horse race. I think it's you, I think it's Scott Bottoms, and I think it's Victor Marks. You are in second place on the financial side of things, raising money. Why are you the best candidate? How do you intend to beat those gentlemen?
Well, I am the best candidate because I have a proven track record. I have been a common sense, conservative, strong delivering for the state of Colorado ever since I've been a county commissioner. Able to lead my county to zero debt, created a Second Amendment sanctuary county, built roads, protected private property rights, stood for limited government. I mean, I am a budget hawk and have cut spending at the state, cut taxes. So I have the background, have the experience, and have been able to go out and get my message out to folks in the state, and really have been able to show that I am the best one in this state that can win as a Republican. I also have a background, Jeff, I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, I'm a fourth-generation Coloradoan. This is my state. I've grew up on a dairy farm. I've owned a dairy farm. I've owned a small business. And yeah, I've been a county commissioner. I did that for 20 years. And for the last 5 years, I have been a state senator. 3 of those years, I've been on the Joint Budget Committee. And I think when people look at my record and what I've done, they're going to say, wow, she's done a lot for the state. And I think that's a strong message. So, and I think, taking my message straight to the people, like going out and talking to people, knocking on doors. And I go out walking every weekend when I'm not going to a forum. And even sometimes then I'll go after the forum or before the forum and go out and walk and talk to folks in their neighborhood, in their, at their home and at their door, and find out really how they feel about the state and what they think are the most important things. And I think my message is strong. And again, I have a very strong track record. So I think, I know everybody thinks they're the front runner. I just think I'm running a good, strong, hard race. And I will tell you, my experience in talking to U.S. Senator Wayne Allard a long time ago, he told me, he goes, whatever race you're in, you always run like you're from behind. He goes, and then you'll do fine. And so that's what I've been doing.
That's Senator Barb Kirkmeyer. She's running for the Republican nomination for governor. Senator, you do sit on the Joint Budget Committee. It's one of the most powerful committees in Colorado governance. You are analyzing the budget, people seeing the headlines. We have a budget crisis. You've been a Republican serving on that committee. Give us some insight. What is happening with the budget here in Colorado?
We have a crisis of priorities. This Democrat-controlled, one-party control that we've had in this state. They've made a mess out of our state. They've made a mess out of our budget, but they have a difficult time determining what their priorities are. I'm very clear on what I think we should be funding with, taxpayer funds, and those are things that they can't fund for themselves. We have to fund education. It's a constitutional requirement that we fund education and that we increase that funding by inflation. We have to fund healthcare access. And by that, I mean making sure that we're reimbursing providers in Medicaid to ensure that we all have health care. So those are the two things that I focus on. I mean, we have to fund the Department of Corrections. We've got to have a correctional facilities, and we've got to have a judicial system. But Democrats, one-party control, they just have a crisis of priorities. They think they want to fund a bunch of other stuff that, quite frankly, we don't need and that we can't afford. And so the insight is that one-party control has just made a mess out of our state.
That's Barb Kirkmeyer, a current legislator here in our state, and also GOP candidate for governor as well. She is part of the powerful Joint Budget Committee. And I want to talk a little bit about that funding. Recently, we had a candidate for treasurer on that talked about priorities and unfunded spending. We asked the question about, was there a number of programs that were started or received a large lump sum in order to keep them going or kickstart during and after the COVID years? That was a one-time lump sum. I'm acting this really poorly. We're going to go back to the beginning. Okay, one-time lump sum that came from COVID money, and they used it to start and try to fund programs that need continual funding, meaning that you got a one-time gift from grandma on your birthday card and decided that was okay, that you could get the subscription for whatever the heck you were doing. You don't have the money coming in. Now, the candidate for treasurer said, no, that's untrue.
Yeah,
There's
Jeff
only one
Bridges was in our studio saying, no, that never happened.
Said that's untrue. So I want to hear from you at the Joint Budget Committee. Are there any examples just off the top of your head, or is that untrue? Did they only do this a couple of times and they put the one-time funding money into other programs to help them be sustainable? What was really going on?
So you have, excuse me, you have nailed it on the head. That's exactly what happened. We had a structural deficit starting all the way back in March of 2021, but even our JBC staff just came back and told us a couple of weeks ago, because Senator Bridges, he's the guy who likes to say that Tabor is why the government can't have nice things. And then I repeat back to him and say Tabor is exactly why the government or why the people get to have nice things. And he doesn't like that. So he wants to blame Tabor, and then he wants to blame everybody else. And again, it goes back to I'd like to know exactly what his priorities are and why we aren't funding them. But it is about the one-time spending. In fact, our JBC staff just a couple of weeks ago came back with we had a whole session on it, and they said, even in the last 2 years, I mean, starting with, let me just back up a little bit. Even starting with COVID, we did a lot of one-time funding to programs that then became ongoing spending, and that caused a problem. But then even in 24 and 25, we did things like we moved cash funds over into the general fund, and I know I'm getting a little nerdy here, but again, one-time spending, one-time funds, put it into ongoing spending, and that caused the problems. And I looked at Senator Bridges and I'm like, I told you so. And I know that's probably not nice to do, but I did. I'm like, I've told you, this is the problem. I told you last year when we were closing out the budget that we're going to have another issue the following year because we used one-time money for ongoing spending. It just doesn't work, and we have to stop doing that. So we've made some strides, but we haven't gone as far as we can. And part of the issue is I'm in the minority. On the Joint Budget Committee, there are 4 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and, I do the best job I can do. But I've been able to cut some spending and try and get some things in line. But I can tell you as governor, I could get our budget in line within one budget session.
There you go. There's the promise offered by Senator Barb Kirkmeyer. She's going to get the budget lined up, cleaned up in one session. She currently serves as a state senator. She's running for governor of Colorado. Now, just before we had you on, we had Representative Scott Bottoms. He's running for governor as well. He made some wild allegations. I just want to get your take on this. He said that he has a list, and he's been working with the FBI on lawmakers, including people in the governor's office that are running a pedophile sex ring. What do you make of his allegations?
Well, I think one of two things. I think either what he's saying is not accurate and he's made that up, or for the last 3 years he's been sitting on his hands while kids are getting trafficked, and a pedophile ring in the Senate and the House and the governor's office. Why hasn't he done something? He may be a state representative, but he's also a pastor and he's a mandatory reporter. So he has a responsibility to report that and get that taken care of. So I'm wondering why that hasn't happened, and why he said the first time that he said about this, and I listened to part of what he said to you. He said that now the media is just paying attention. The reason the media is just paying attention now is because he said it at a town hall meeting or one of his gatherings down in Colorado Springs, where he talked about this. And I'm like, why has he not turned that in? Why, as a state representative, hasn't he gone to his leadership? He has an ethical and a moral responsibility to go to his leadership. And if he knows of certain state legislators that are pedophiles, he needs to take that to his leadership. There needs to be an investigation, and those people should be expelled. They shouldn't get to continue on as state legislators. So he's either not doing his job as a mandatory reporter or as a pastor or as a state representative, or he just made that story up. So I'd like to know which it is. Bring the receipts. Bring it forward now. No more waiting around. If kids are being trafficked, if there are pedophiles in the Capitol, we need to know about it.
Have you ever seen that? Have you experienced anybody at the state capitol that would give you an indication they might be running a pedophile sex ring?
No, I have not. And if I had, Jeff, I would have brought it forward. Even as a state legislator, you still have a responsibility to be a mandatory reporter. I would have brought that forward. And I know I heard your comments about Senator Faith Winter. I'm just going to remind you about Senator Sonia Hawkes-Lewis.
Yes.
When the Senate found that we had an issue with a senator, and we did bring it forward and went through an ethics commission, because that's what you're supposed to do. And she was found unethical, essentially, through that whole process, and it's what led to the investigation. That while now she just got not only was she charged with, but convicted of some crimes. That's what's supposed to be happening, and that is what Representative Baum should be doing on his side if he knows of people specifically. And if he knows of a state senator, tell me who they are. I'll bring them up. We'll talk about it at the state Senate, and we'll expel them if that's true, and do our investigation and do our due diligence. But just sitting on your hands, acting like, oh, I've been doing all this stuff. Come on. I just kind of find it disgusting.
Strong words from Senator Barb Kirkmeyer, running for governor here in Colorado. Now, Senator, I don't think this is necessarily the most fair, accurate way to describe all three of you all, but I think it provides a little bit of generalities that might help folks. I've noticed a lot of folks in my life that I would consider more moderate, like you, and they seem to be appealed to you. I don't think you're necessarily a moderate, but do you think that in the race you have Representative Bottoms? He's well known as like that kind of passionate social conservative fighter. He likes to go give the speeches on the floor of the House of Representatives here in Colorado. Victor Marks, kind of the outsider, never run for office before. And with you, I've noticed that what I would call kind of the traditional Republicans, maybe more like the Bush Republicans, seem to be drawn to you. More moderates seem to be drawn to you. Is that where you're staking out? And is that necessary to win in Colorado, to be more moderate and not be so firebrand conservative? What's your take on that analysis?
First of all, I wouldn't describe myself as a moderate. I would say I am a conservative, common sense powerhouse that has delivered for the state of Colorado in numerous ways. If you call it traditional, that I believe in limited government, I believe in protecting Tabor, which I've done. I mean, I was the co-chair on the No on HH campaign. If you call it that, again, that government should only be doing those things for people that you can't do for yourself. If it's, protecting private property rights, if, balancing budgets, cutting taxes, cutting regulations, those are all things that are very conservative in nature. So I'm not sure why you want to try and peg me as a moderate, but I am definitely a very strong conservative, and been able to, because I am pragmatic and I have an ability to work across the aisle on those issues, on those types of issues. I mean, I'm not going down to the Capitol just so I can be an obstructionist or so I can just say no or put out bills that are messaging bills. I'm down there working to make sure that I'm doing the best I can for the people of the state of Colorado. And typically, when you look at things at the Capitol, there's probably about 80% of the issues that we can work on together, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, and that's what I do. I just go get the job done. In fact, I took it as a compliment when the former Senate president at one point said that, you know, if you want to get something done, you give it to Kirkmeyer and she'll get it done. So I carried the bills that were the largest property tax cuts in the state's history and got those passed and had to work and negotiate and get those through, and I did. Things of that nature. I protected private property rights. I've improved and worked on increasing safety. I've ensured that we have funded our law enforcement. So instead of defunding them, I've been defending them. And I'm the one who marshaled through the bill last year that required us to fund $350 million to local law enforcement officials and made sure that it worked for them. And we got the money. We're getting the money to them to, again, recruit, train, and retain law enforcement officers in our state. So I think I'm a very strong conservative, but I think, again, my pragmatic nature, my ability to work across the aisle is what has put me in the forefront here and allows me to really get things done for the state of Colorado. I've got a track record. No one else has the type of record that I have. I would put my record up against anybody, which is why the other day when Victor Marks decides to take a shot at me on tax policy, I'm like, bring it on, Victor. Let's meet. Show up, Victor. Come to a forum, or if you don't want to come to a forum, heck, let's do a one-on-one, and I will inform you and educate you on how tax policy in this state works and what I did to cut property taxes in the state of Colorado.
That's Barbara Kirkmeyer, the pragmatic Republican, as she likes to embrace, work to figure out the problems and address them. Senator Kirkmeyer, I want to look at the Democrat primary here. You've been very generous with your time. I know you got to get out and actually work at the state capitol. Senator, who do you think you're going to face in the general election? My analysis of the Democrats is it just seems to be getting far more progressive, even socialist at this point. So, you know, do you think you're going to face Michael Bennet or Phil Weiser?
Quite frankly, I don't know at this time, but they both, what I do know is they both are going to the extreme left. You know, Jeff, I hate to call them progressive because to me, progressive means that you're being progressive, that you're moving forward and you're doing things. And I don't think they are. I think they're just going they're going to go to the extreme left and they're in for a fight. Those two won't even be they don't even want to be on the same stage with each other. And I will give you an example. Next week, I have been asked by the Colorado Association of Superintendents, so school superintendents, to come and meet with them and answer questions about education and education funding in the state and my policies and the direction that I'm going as a candidate for governor with regard to education. And I thought it was going to be a panel type discussion or a forum, and it ends up that they said, nope, we're going to interview you separate from Senator Bennet and from AG Weiser because they don't want to be together on the same stage. So I just think they're going to go far to the left, and I don't know which one wins. They both have a lot of money. I hope they fight it out and spend all their money.
It's nice to see we're not the only ones with the debates not willing to share a stage, fights that are happening here, which is kind of unique to the Democrat Party here in Colorado because they have traditionally been so united, which I think has helped them get to where they are in the state. I do want to ask you this, Senator Kirkmeyer, somebody fourth generation, grew up in Colorado. There's so much that's changed with the electorate here. This is not at all the state that I grew up in. It's not the state you grew up in. And they seem to have just so much power. How do you address that as a candidate? How do you win people over that have gotten so progressive and have gotten behind the Democrat Party to give them such historic power in the state? How do you break through to them?
I don't think our elected officials, especially in the legislative branch, are reflective of the state. I don't think the state has gone as far to the left as the Democrats have down at the Capitol. I think that for the most part, and just seeing some recent polling, and even again out talking to folks at their door, because when I knock on a door and I'm trying to get a Republican to sign on my petition, a lot of times an affiliate will answer the door as well, and they'll want to sit there and talk also. And I think the polling has showed unaffiliates are saying, look, our state's going in the wrong direction. For the first time, a few months ago, we saw a poll where Democrats are underwater, where Polis doesn't have these 60 and 70% favorable ratings. Now he's down where he's below 50%, and his unfavorables are above 50%. Same with Bennett. If you ask people what has Bennett done, nobody can tell you. So I think that the unaffiliates are saying, look, they've had enough as well. Enough's enough. It's one party control in this state has made a mess of our state. They've made us unaffordable, unsafe. Our roads are crumbling. We need to protect our kids. They keep interfering in our lives. We're done with them, and we need to go in a different direction. And I think that's why we have a shot this year, why I have a shot this year at winning the race for governor.
Senator Kirkmeyer, you ran for Congress in a competitive district. What have you learned since that race? Because that didn't go your direction. How are you pivoting and addressing some of those challenges you faced during the last cycle?
I think part of the issue with the congressional race was what was going on at the national level, and I think the national level does have a play into it. So it's an up and down kind of roller coaster ride when you're in a when you're in a race, whether it's a congressional race or a statewide race for governor. And so we just have to keep riding the roller coaster and hope that it's, we're on an upswing when we get to October, November timeframe of this next year. But the message is this. I think we have to be very disciplined in what we talk about. I think we have to listen to what people are saying to us when they say, look, we're tired of hearing about the social issues. And that's what they're saying in the polling, and that's what they're saying at the door, that they're tired of the social issues. The issues that matter most to them are about the economy, about whether or not their kids are going to be able to afford a home when they get older, or whether they're going to be able to continue to afford their home and stay in their home, whether or not, that we're protecting private property rights. I mean, it's very clear to me, people are very protective of, they don't want to keep paying more taxes, and they protect Tabor, and they do believe that that's our safety net, and it's got to stay in place. They want to know about, the safety in their neighborhood, and what are we doing to support our law enforcement, not knock them down and not have them hanging around for us and helping us out. Those are the people that you call when you need them most. When you dial 911, you want to make sure they're showing up. So I think sticking to those messages, having a good, strong message, and then having a proven track record like myself, that's what I plan on doing different. This not necessarily different, but getting expressed out there. But I think what's different is the electorate, the unaffiliates that are just telling us, look, they're tired. They're tired of the direction we're going in. They want to see a new direction. And these are the issues that are most important to them. Those are the issues that I'll be focusing on as well.
And this is a wild moment to reflect on what happened, because I think if the Libertarian hadn't been in the race, I think you would be a Congresswoman right now, which is just my analysis. But Senator Kirkmeyer, candidate for governor, the pragmatic conservative Republican. You can learn more about her at kirkmeyerforcolorado.com. kirkmeyerforcolorado.com. Senator, I know you got some good work to do down there fighting back against the radical left at the state capitol, so we'll let you get onto that. But we sure appreciate your time today. Thank you, Senator.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Learn more again at kirkmeyerforcolorado.com. All right. Let's talk Colorado Christian University. Faith, family, and freedom. These values define the American tradition and are increasingly under attack. The Centennial Institute at Colorado Christian University is dedicated to remaining a committed voice for conservative Christian principles. Through their public events, publications, and student initiatives, they are committed to delivering world-class programming that empowers citizens of all ages to stand boldly for conservative values and engage on the pressing issues of the day with grace and truth. The need to promote principled conservatism and train the next generation of conservative leaders to speak with moral clarity and conviction is more urgent than ever. Join the Centennial Institute at Colorado Christian University in their work to recommit the culture to faith, family, freedom, and future. Learn more at centennial.ccu.edu. That's centennial.ccu.edu. What do you think of Senator Barb Kirkmeyer? Would you support her in the primary for the Republican nomination? Do you think she can win a general election and defeat Michael Bennet and Phil Weiser? Would love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you hear both sides. We are The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show, providing both sides to you. We've heard from Scott Bottoms. We've heard from Barb Kirkmeyer. Bill, as the independent here in the state of Colorado, give me your analysis of Barb Kirkmeyer.
I think that Barb's strongest plank is her experience with the budget. As an unaffiliated, I like the promise of the budget in line within one session. Personally, I am skeptical, but I like that promise. It is appealing to me. And this is the tough part is, for me as an unaffiliated, the thing that concerns me the most is that our budget is absolutely got a giant hole in it. And we seem to be spending a lot of money in places and areas that we shouldn't. And then, as Barb pointed out, stuff like infrastructure. We're not spending the amount of money that I would like to see focused on things like infrastructure, in part because it doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a Democrat, or unaffiliated, or have never voted in your life. You're still using the roads, the sidewalks, and the bridges. That seems to be one of the real universals that the government needs to take care of. And we have done a really bad job about that over the last decade plus. And so I like that. I'm not sure it is sexy enough to win either in the primary or in the general. But if she becomes the I will save Tabor and balance the budget candidate, if she can grab that label, I think she can get a lot of wind in her sails. Does it make her come out of the primary or even win the governor's mansion? No. But I think it gives her a really, really good shot at doing it, because I think that message can resonate with a lot of voters across all sorts of different opinions and political ideologies.
What did you think of her comments there towards the end about not getting into the social issues?
I think that's smart. I think it's really smart, because I think that the GOP has hurt themselves on some of the social issues. And part of it is because they have a different opinion, or they come from it on a different side than what the majority of the voters, I'm not saying Coloradans, but I'm saying majority of voters felt. And sometimes they played too hard into the social issues. And I think it's very smart, because I believe that you can get some very persuadable unaffiliateds, and I really think you can get some Democrats, like our caller from Colorado Springs earlier today, when you say, listen, I'm not going to fight with you about these social issues. I'm going to make sure that the roads are good, that the funding is taken care of, and that we're not blowing a hole in the budget so we're coming back in for a special session. And I'm going to make sure that, things like, are your property taxes under control? Are other things under control? Is that where, if Barb's argument is, I'm going to put the social issues aside because we need to get our economic house in order, this is by far more important than any and pick your favorite, whatever social issue it is, that means more to us as a community. I think it's strong.
I mean,
social issues are
does
so
that
sexy.
make her the more moderate candidate? When I raise that, and I raise it because the moderates in my life like her.
Yeah.
So I go, all right, well, those that are, and it almost kind of falls along, those that are like the rock-ribbed social conservatives are like Scott Bottoms. Yeah. The folks that are the outsiders are going, yeah, Victor Marx, I like him. He's totally new. I like that. And then the moderates in my life are going, I like Barb Kirkmeyer. But then when I raised that, she seemed not happy about that label.
The problem is inside a party primary, being the moderate can be the kiss of death, because it's a purity test. It is all about who is furthest to or more like, and the people that show up in much of the party assembly are the people that are the diehards, the people that will take the time out of their day, their weekend, to go and to be at that meeting. So not a lot of moderates, and so that label can be a real detriment in a primary. However, in the general, everybody wants to be the moderate.
You're going to watch Barb embrace that mantra. Well, feel free to join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line at 720-819-5115. Is my analysis right? Do you kind of have a Rick Santorum, Mitt Romney, Donald Trump situation happening here in Colorado, where you've got the rock-ribbed social conservative with Scott Bottoms, you got the more business budget-focused Mitt Romney, like with Barb Kirkmeyer, and do you have the outsider like you have with Donald Trump or with Victor Marx, kind of like Donald Trump, Victor Marx, never been in politics before, jumping in, kind of shaking things up? Is that a fair analysis of the primary scene in Colorado Republican politics right now? Or am I wrong? And if I am wrong, how am I wrong, and who are you supporting? Would love to hear from you. Here's the phone number, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. I raised this bill because I worked for both Santorum and Romney in 12. I was one of like 2 people that worked for both those candidates in the country, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And I was on Rick's primary team, and Rick was well known across the country as being opposed to gay marriage, supporting of life at the moment of conception. It was his thing. He was Catholic. He wore it on his sleeve. He had the little sweater vests, if you remember, in 2012 that went viral.
Yep.
That was Rick. Mitt, on the other hand, was all business, right? And you saw it during the general election.
Oh, yeah.
When we got into it with Obama, how many social issues were brought up? It was Russia. It was the budget. It was businesses. I did events for businesses. It was who's going to unlock the economy, all that stuff. So, yeah, is it fair to label one of those more conservative than the other? Is it one more moderate? I don't know. Feel free to join the conversation. I've seen both sides of a Republican operation, and in both those cases, they lost. To Obama.
Yeah, that's the thing. is that, and I like your descriptions of the candidates and where they are sitting and will they be electable. And part of it that the GOP has to ask themselves is, how important is it for you as a party to capture this office, whatever office you're talking about? And if so, does running the more moderate candidate improve that? Does running the more extreme candidate improve that? What improves your chances to win that seat in the general? Winning the primary is just a first step. You got to be focused on the general and who gives you the best chance to take that seat or that governor's mansion if you really want it bad enough.
All right, people texting in, including G-Reg. We got that name added, brother. All right, let's talk the gun room. There are some businesses in Colorado that aren't just stores, they're institutions. The gun room in Lakewood is one of them. They've been serving Denver since 1982, and when you step inside, you immediately know this isn't a big box operation. It's real. Wood counters, knowledgeable people, a shop built on experience, responsibility, and respect for the Second Amendment. I love everything about this store. The gun room buys, sells, and consigns everything from antique firearms to modern tactical and hunting rifles. They even help families navigate gun collections after losing a loved one, something that requires trust and integrity. Wayne's the owner, and I promise he'll take great care of you. With over 1,000 firearms in stock and inventory changing daily, this is the place to shop, especially with new restrictive laws coming down the road. Support a local, family-owned Colorado business. Support freedom. Visit denvergunroom.com, denvergunroom.com, or give them a call at 303-237-1300, 303-237-1300. We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. Thanks for getting up with us. This is where you get to hear both sides. We are The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show. Talking with Barb Kirkmeyer. She's a state senator, sits on the powerful Joint Budget Committee, now running for governor of Colorado. What'd you think of her? Let's go to the phone lines. Francis and Golden. Good morning, Francis. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning.
Hey, you guys. Hey, I think Barb Kirkmeyer is the GOP's by far best hope in a general election. I think she has a sober tone that is lacking from other candidates. And I mean that, obviously I'm not, I don't want to get into what sobriety would mean with some recent unfortunate things with Democrat politicians, but she thinks clearly about these things. And I think that if her position, and this is how I took it, is that I'm going to stay out of social issues, or at least kind of not touch those as campaign issues, because we simply don't have the luxury of being able to do that right now. I think that's the best posture that I've heard from any of these people, because it's true. The state's budget is like a house on fire, and you can't be arguing with the spouse or others in the house over what family albums to take out while it's on fire. You put out the fire. And that's the immediate problem. She's also, I really liked that she, because I like that guy who you had on, the Democratic treasurer candidate from up in, I think it was up around
Jeff
Carbondale.
Bridges. Yep.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges. Yeah, the actor's name. so he I think he seemed to have a pretty good working knowledge of the budget, but I think he was definitely wrong about like these one-time COVID injections of capital, because those have all hung around. I mean, the state is addicted to federal matching and Medicaid right now. I mean, and as is almost every single democratically controlled state. We've been budgeting for a number of years now. If you were to think of it as a household, you've been budgeting for anticipated bonuses from your employer. And when the bonuses don't come, your budget is shot. And so it's not healthy to anticipate that this federal matching will always be there for Medicaid. I mean, I think Barb Kirkmeyer is dead right. I mean, you've got guardrails in place over education funding and healthcare, and those got to be addressed.
And do you think if she's at the top of the ticket, it would help all the other Republicans?
No, yes, definitely. Most definitely. I just, here's the thing, and I really think that the Republicans have to think like this, is that you've had lunatic fringe people on both sides now, and now the Democrats are really on the lunatic fringe end of things with their candidates. We need sober adult candidates to draw independent voters.
Francis Golden, appreciate the call and the analysis. Thanks so much. We'll continue. You can jump in here, be a part of the conversation too at 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver,
and on AM 1460 and FM 101.1.